without further ado, let me welcome my guest, Cece Ojany-Bekhor. Welcome, Cece.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very honored to have you because you're a very difficult person to get because you're very busy helping clients all over the world. Before we start this conversation on how you started becoming a coach, there's something you shared on your page. You title it Sunday Funnies. You share that one of the ways I've measured my growth over the years is by how calm, optimistic, as opposed to panicked and pessimistic I am when I'm faced with a challenge. This is an unusual and pressure-filled time for many, but my being serious isn't the cure. Being morose certainly won't help me help others. Being focused is not the same as being serious. Being productive is not the same as being serious. Being creative actually gets stifled by being too serious. Being open, being willing, traveling light. Being flexible and humble as opposed to rigid and proud. Letting go. These are some of the things that can get you through a tough time. It took me a long time to get this. Stay safe, stay creative, stay connected. What was it that inspired this post?
Well, thanks again for having me, Opere. And let me start with my journey, maybe, and then you'll understand why I shared that post. I've had a very varied journey, for some people, professionally, that is. For some people, their journey is straightforward. They've had one or two jobs. They've stayed there for years, and that's perfectly fine. But then there's some of us who the road has been a bit windy. We're happy with where we've ended up, but it's certainly not been straightforward. So I was fortunate enough to have my parents send me to Australia for further studies many, many years ago in the year 2000. So I did my uni there. I actually went to law school. I did a double degree. I studied the humanities, philosophy, sociology, international relations. And I really got an education in the humanities. I learned about life. I learned about the world. And that was when I realized that I am somebody who is interested in people. I'm interested in our history. I'm interested in our psychology. I'm interested in our behavior. I'm that person who, even at my age, I'm 39 years old now, but even at my age, I very easily make new friends. I love hearing people's stories. So after university, I was young. I was still trying to figure out what I'm doing. I joined the corporate world. I learned a lot from the corporate world. I'm really grateful for my experience in corporate. But I realized when I was there that I'm probably best suited for a different environment, an environment where there's less structure, less rigidity. And this is just a personality thing. Yes. There's some of us that really need the structure and the rigidity, and we like being part of large teams. I'm the opposite. I'm okay when there's no structure. I'm okay if I'm the one creating the structure. I like working in small teams. Right now, I'm a solopreneur. I really, really enjoy working by myself, for myself, partnering with business partners when I need to. So my journey has been very windy. And even as I was still working in corporate and in the SME space, because I left corporate and went to work for an SME in the organic food industry, even in those environments, I was still interested in people. I was still interested in talking to people, learning from people. And it's actually funny because when I was in corporate, I attended a training once. So this is in Australia. I attended a training once, and I remember sitting there looking at the trainer and thinking, that's the job I want. That's the job I want. I want to be that person helping other people get insights. I want to be that person having meaningful, great conversation with others. So that was when the light bulb went on that I should be doing something along those lines. I moved into the SME space. It was then that I had the time and the headspace to do further studies. So I got my coaching accreditation with the Life Coaching Institute of Australia. And when that was done, 2 years later, I decided to bite the bullet and start my own coaching practice. So I started off coaching Australians in Australia. Then I moved back to Kenya, where I'm from, and continued the coaching work here. And over the years, I have also received a lot of coaching. I got my first coach when I was 28. That was 11 years ago. And coaching has been the singular thing in my life that has really, really just helped me to feel empowered, helped me to stop whining and whinging and blaming other people for my challenges. I got a coach when I started my new business. I got a coach when I was pregnant with my daughter. Every time there's a challenge, my husband and I, when we hit a bumpy ride, a bumpy part in our journey, we speak to psychologists and counselors to help us out. And for me, I think that's the smartest thing to do. Rather than sitting down and feeling stuck in your problems, you get the help. You become vulnerable, you humble yourself, and you get the help. And if you can get the help for free, great. But if you have to pay for the help, go ahead and do that. And so right now, at the time this is being recorded, it's April, the year 2020. COVID-19 virus is pandemic is going on. We are we're physical distancing, I should say. We are working from home, limiting our movement. And a lot of people are really struggling with that. It has had consequences and repercussions for our personal lives, for our businesses. There are some people who are thriving, and that's really great. But there are many people who are struggling. And throughout my struggles, Andrew,
yes.
My approach to my struggles has evolved over time. So as I said earlier, I was that person who was, constantly blaming, feeling like the victim. This was me in my early 20s. And then I got a coach. I became empowered. I believed that, yes, this is great. I'm empowered. I do have some form of influence over how my life goes. But then you get knocked around. So I got knocked around when my dad passed away. My husband's grandfather, when he passed away, I got knocked around. Just that realization that, wow, you actually don't have control. Before I was blessed enough to have my daughter, I had a miscarriage early on in a pregnancy, so that also knocked me around. So those are the things that took me to the next level of personal development, which is learning to surrender and accept and still feel empowered, even though at the back of your mind that you don't really have control. And when I did that, when I understood and realized that, Andrew, I was able to laugh more at my problems and to laugh more at difficulties. And it doesn't mean, when you laugh, it doesn't mean that you're not taking things seriously. It doesn't mean that you're in denial. Laughter for me, laughter is the realization that, wow, isn't life interesting? Look at what's happened. Just a month ago, all of us were making plans. We were making travel plans. People were making wedding plans. People were making birthday party plans. And now all that has just stopped. And it's very humbling. And for me, it makes me laugh because, how arrogant were we all? Tomorrow is really not promised to anybody. So, and I had heard this being shared in, Buddhist philosophy. Different philosophies talk about laughter. And I couldn't understand it way back then, but I'm starting to understand, and I'm starting to see that when you start traveling light, you learn to laugh. And I tell you, Andrew, I've had some very serious conversations with people who have made me laugh. I have coached someone who is a COVID survivor, and she made me laugh. I mean, how amazing is that? I have coached people who no longer have an income because of the physical distancing, and they've made me laugh. They're still able to laugh at themselves. I've had people laugh at themselves after they've got divorced. I mean, there's something about laughter and humility. They go together, I think. So that's the reason I shared that post. And if you can remember the picture I put up, it was a picture of a cat looking very mangy.
Yes.
And the caption was, "The more I stay at home, the more homeless I look."
Yes.
And I just found that really funny. And I wanted to share that with people. I wanted to share with people that being serious is not the same as being productive. You can still be productive and lighthearted. For me as a coach, I can't afford to be morose. I can't afford to be a doomsdayer, because that is not going to help my clients. So being optimistic and grounded and inspiring is very important for my own well-being, but also important for the people I'm working with. So that's a long way of answering your question about why I shared that post about the Sunday Funnies.